everybody, it's Laura from Balanced Body Rehab. I am going to take you through a side plank progression today. We use side planks a lot in our treatments because they're great for your core and your glutes, which are huge postural stabilization muscle groups. Some of the progressions I'm going to show you are static holds. Others incorporate movement that are really targeting more glute activation. So before we get started, let's just talk a little bit about the muscle groups that we're targeting here. The core, we want you to think about engaging your core the same way you would with any of our core exercises, with your 3 levels of your cylinder. So starting with your pelvic floor, engaging like you're doing a Kegel, and then moving up, pulling your belly button in towards your spine to get your transverse abdominis working. And last, keeping your rib cage down so that it's not flaring up and destabilizing your core. So keeping that down, like your rib cage is attached right on top of your abs. So that's how I want you to think about engaging your core with these exercises. You'll find as soon as we go up into a side plank that your obliques are working too, but really focus in on those 3 levels throughout all of the progressions. The other group we're working on is the glutes, both glute max and glute med. Your glute max is really helpful for a lot of postural stabilization. Your glute meds are as well, but they also keep you from doing that hip drop when you're walking. So if you get pain in your hips, you may have some glute med weakness. So let's get started here. I'm going to have you lie on your side, and I want you to keep your hips and your heels in line. Legs are bent a little bit. Start with that core activation, ribs down, belly button pulled in, and engaging your pelvic floor. This one, before we move up into a side plank, we're going to start with clams just to get those glutes working. So we're just going to open and close. You really want to make sure you're not rolling back. Your hips are stacked right on top of each other. Sometimes it can be helpful to put a hand here to get that feedback. And just opening and closing. So that's your first level of your progression here. If you feel like you are ready to move on, you can prop yourself up on your elbow. You can make a fist or place your hand on the mat, whichever is more comfortable. I want you to make sure you're not sinking down into the shoulder, really press up through it. And now we're going to lift up off the mat. Keep your abs engaged, don't let that go. Hips are still right on top of each other. Open across here, don't crunch down. And you're just going to hold this one. Trying to hold for about a minute, but if you need to work up to that, that's okay too. Next, your next progression here is going to be adding a clam. Now don't let anything that we talked about go. Don't let this roll back. Don't let those abs go. All of that is still working. You're just adding a clam on top of it now. If you feel like you're ready to move on to the next progression, straighten that top leg out. Don't let it turn your toes up to the sky because we're not working hip flexors. Keep those toes pointing straight forward, and I want you to kick up and back, up and back. The other variation of this that you can do is to circle. Yeah? It gets a little harder to keep your abs engaged here, so put a little extra attention there. Don't let this really extend. You have to keep this all straight and engaged as you're doing this progression. Okay. We're ready for the full side plank here. There are a couple ways you can do this. The first is by putting one foot in front of the other. That gives you a little bit wider base of support, so if you want to start there, that can be a good starting point. Try not to go way up here or to let yourself sag. You want a straight line from the top of your head down to your toes, right? The second way that you can do this, it's a little bit harder here, is to stack your feet on top of each other. You're lifting up, straight line through the top of your head, down through your toes, keeping your abs engaged the whole time. You can also lift a leg, lift an arm. You can try the up and back here. We're getting into really hard progressions now. So those are all of your progressions for today. The way that you know that you're ready to move on to the next progression is that you're really able to keep your form with your abs, with your hip alignment, and keeping the movement steady for about a minute. If you feel really confident doing that and you feel like it's getting easier, try the next progression. If you need to back off to working up to a minute, 15 seconds at a time or so, build yourself up like that. But as soon as you feel that you are not able to keep the form anymore, it's time to take a break or move back down to the previous level. I hope you found these side plank progressions helpful. If you're looking for more information on posture or how the core or the glutes work, check out our YouTube channel for Balanced Body Rehab. We have lots of other resources there for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.